The second presenter is Benita Matofska from Brighton and Hove Progressive Synagogue. Thank you very much.
It's absolutely wonderful to be here. So thank you so much, Fiona, for inviting me. After creating the first human, the Holy One who is blessed took them around all the trees of the garden and said to them, "See how lovely and excellent my works are. I've created them all for you. Take care not to spoil and destroy my world, for if you spoil it, there will be no one to repair it after you." And this is something that is so dear to my heart because this is what we need to do. That's from Kohelet, from Rabbah 7:13. Now, as many of you know, I'm Benita and I'm a proud member of the Brighton and Hove Progressive Synagogue. I sit on the council with responsibility for environmental action and justice, and I lead the BHPS Green Team. We hold events and grow a green Jewish community across the city. We're proud to be part of Eco-Judaism, and we take particular pride in being awarded the first Eco-Synagogue Silver Award in the UK, announced at COP26 and presented at Kew Gardens in June 2022. So our vision is to grow a Jewish community that cares about our environment and each other and takes action for the planet, to work together to build a more connected, caring, sharing, sustainable society and economy. And our aim is to establish BHPS as a hub for all that is green and Jewish. Now, our journey has been inspiring, difficult, motivating, challenging, and extraordinary. And I'm going to spend the next 7 minutes sharing some insights, positive stories, but also the tricky parts of our eco-synagogue journey to cut carbon for people and the planet. So in the beginning, Bereshit, when I joined the BHPS Council in 2017, the first thing that I did was to carry out an environmental audit. Now, this was in the days before Eco-Synagogue was launched, and I was lucky enough then to have the support of our then Rabbi Eli, now Emeritus Rabbi, but I did face challenge from several others. I knew from my own work in the field of sustainability that I needed some kind of baseline to establish what we were already doing so that I could understand what we needed to do to lower our carbon footprint. It wasn't an easy beginning. People were concerned that what I was doing would be expensive. And like Kathy, we are a small shul with also no land, with a very limited budget. But again, I know from my own work that the idea of sustainability as unaffordable and a sunk cost is a myth that I was keen to dispel. So I put together a full cost analysis for us to source only eco-friendly products, from the food cooked for our simchas to the cleaning materials we used, and even the loo roll. I also looked at our waste, single-use plastics and disposables that we used for our events, our recycling efforts, eco-education, and how we practice tikkun olam through our services, our activities, and our communications. I realised that although we were certainly not starting from zero, there was work to be done for us to achieve and be on a solid path to net zero. Some people were sceptical, and I remember some very challenging council meetings where I was literally tearing my hair out. As you can see, that's never quite recovered. But I persisted, and with the birth of Eco-Synagogue in February 2018, I had a network of support that legitimised and propelled this work forward. So the next stage, getting going. Yalla, yalla. So the next stage was really all about building that momentum. And I knew that creativity was all important and this needed to be collaborative. So I set up a green team. The lovely Claire Bessel joined and really helped to get things moving. Our events were about inspiring people, giving them a positive experience of sustainability. I mean, who doesn't love a clothes swap? There's nothing like sharing your schmatters and going home with a bag of clothes that have cost you nothing and haven't cost the planet. It was a success. So we began to feel more confident, and we ran green skill shares, eco Shabbats, and during COVID, of course, we went online. Once we were able to meet again in person, we had vegan Havara Shabbat lunches and Friday night dinners with speakers. And over the last year, the green team, I'm pleased to say, has grown. Looking ahead, we're planning to have one in-synagogue event and one out-in-nature community event per quarter, as well as having an eco element to every festival and celebration that we have in the synagogue. Now, part of our eco synagogue work is about building relationships with our local eco community and to celebrate and enjoy the incredible natural resources on our doorstep. As Brighton is a coastal community, we can access full moon swims, beach cleans, boat trips out to our offshore wind farm, and we're now going for gold, like Kathy, and hoping to be a gold standard eco synagogue by the next awards. So that's the good stuff. Now for the tricky stuff. So change, especially behaviour change, is difficult. And I want to share a recent part of our journey that hasn't been easy. So as most of you know, the latest report from the International Panel on Climate Change makes a depressing read. We're on track to reach or surpass a 1.5 degree temperature rise before 2040, triggering irreversible and extreme changes to our climate, our habitat, our planet, from multi-metre rises in sea levels, floods, fires, and food shortages. The need to decarbonise has never been greater. So at BHPS, we looked at how that might be achieved faster. As many of you know, one of the best ways to lower our carbon footprint is via the food that we eat. For example, by becoming vegan, you can lower your carbon footprint by 73%. Now, of course, this is a journey. And in January this year, we took a decision at Council to become a completely vegetarian synagogue, meaning that as leaders, we would make a commitment to lower our carbon footprint and reduce our negative impact on the planet by ensuring that all food brought into the synagogue, eaten in the synagogue, would be vegetarian. The difference for us in the case of our community meant that no fish, no permitted fish would be allowed. Now, I see a synagogue as a place where we strive to be and do our very best, to care for the world, to make our Tikkun Olam commitments mean something. So going vegetarian meant that the 0.03% of our meals at most per year that we eat in the synagogue would be entirely from low carbon vegetarian foods. Now, we made this announcement and a small but vocal minority in our shul felt differently. They wanted to have the option to eat permitted fish and felt that they hadn't been consulted. Emails were traded, motions were proposed, and we had a very heated AGM in July. Unfortunately for me, in some ways, I was busy up in Leeds, moving my elderly parents into a new, easier place to live. So I missed the whole balagan. But obviously, I was very involved in all of the actions and the communications that followed. Essentially, a few people in our community feel that eating fish is an important part of Jewish identity. And although personally I struggled with that notion, I did find it curious and interesting that not being able to eat fish for 0.03% of our meals per year would generate such broigus. Now, we pride ourselves on being a really kind and inclusive synagogue. And so we discussed this again at Council because we didn't want division in our community. We wanted to bring people together and we wanted to take people on a journey. And we wanted to come up with some kind of compromise that would be a way to enable us to progress on our journey, to be the best we can be, but to give those who struggled with giving up fish for synagogue meals a way of being able to participate in this eco journey. And I'm just going to read to you the communications that we then sent out because you may find it useful. And this is what we said. As a synagogue with progressive values, it's important for us to do our part to contribute positively to protecting our planet and to minimise the impact that human behaviour is having on our ecology and on communities around the world. We take our commitment to Tikkun Olam, care of the world, very seriously and strive to be and do the best that we can, both in our actions towards climate change and to the resulting human rights impacts of a high carbon footprint. As a member of Eco Synagogue, we are committed to lowering our carbon footprint and improving our environmental impact. And having a vegetarian food policy is a key part of achieving this. Whilst many synagogue members agree with this policy, there are some who feel strongly that eating fish is an important part of their Jewish identity. The Synagogue Council wants to strive for unity and understanding among our members and friends, and so Council has agreed the following adjustment to the policy. The HPS as an organisation continues to promote vegetarianism, and any food which is supplied by the synagogue will be vegetarian. People who are paying privately for a kiddush or celebration, simcha, can include fish, excluding salmon, and we're excluding salmon due to the extremely negative effects of salmon farming on wild fish stocks and the high death rate in the fish farms. Finally, we ask that food which is brought in for chavura meals remains vegetarian. We hope this decision recognizes the feelings expressed by some members of our community in relation to eating fish, as well as our commitments to Tikkun Olam and our vegetarian policy. We'll be scheduling further discussions on the issues, but please do write to us with your views at any time. Now, this compromise has certainly helped, and the lesson learned for us, and for us all, is that we need to find ways to bring people with us on this journey. Behaviour change is difficult. Even when we understand the need to change, actual change is really tricky. Now, I have to say, it did make me smile when I was asked to read Jonah on Yom Kippur, and Rabbi Gabriel made mention of the fish controversy and how appropriate it was that I was given the mitzvah of telling the story of one of the bigger fish, although technically a mammal. So today, I'd like to urge each of us to act for the planet, even though it's not always easy. And yes, there will be sacrifices, though not the kind in the Torah. Let's use this event as an opportunity to ask ourselves, what can we do now? What can we do tonight? What can we do this week to make a difference? Let's all commit here and now to an action for the planet, whether that's to eat a more plant-based diet and help cut emissions through our dietary choices, or to take more sustainable forms of transport. But this crisis will not be solved in silos. It will take all of us. And we can't simply wait for others to take action. We all need to do our bit. We owe it to our children, our communities, and to the future for all people and the planet. Sustainability is everyone's responsibility. And I'd like to leave you with the hope that we can and will do better. Thanks for listening. Toda rabah.
Wow.